Let's get you Dub. So, as good as Benton has been last year, how do you evaluate the interior defensive line going forward? Cam is aging, and Lario has been disappointing for what he was paid. Do you think they take a guy early in the draft?
Couple things to undress with that. Did you see where Cam said he's coming back, or he said he's not retiring?
Yeah, which is the part of his comment that I did like, but there was another part of his comment that I didn't like.
What was that?
He's like, I'm not taking a pay cut. Like, screw everyone that's...
If you asked me for a pay cut, I said, "Oh, Cam."
You need to take a pay cut.
I love it.
You need to take a pay cut. You absolutely do. Because cutting you's on the table then. I'm sorry. I think...
You know I love, that's my brother. I said, Cam, I said, ooh, I love your energy. I love what you are standing for.
He shouldn't have made that
when you
comment.
say that out publicly,
He shouldn't have made that comment.
that is dangerous. That is dangerous.
He should cancel his podcast
Yes,
now.
yes.
Because usually he doesn't say anything
Yeah,
hard on
I
his
was like, that is dangerous.
shows, but now,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
It's
time to cancel
it's
the
a
podcast.
big difference between I know my worth. It's a big difference between, man, I'm gonna make sure that I'm fairly compensated versus, hey man, if y'all even thinking about a pay cut, screw y'all, all right? You like, dog, you not off. You know player to player. I'm gonna tell you, get your bag, bro, and don't give any of it back. But at the same time, I think we also have to have the conversation of, okay, do you want to continue to play in Pittsburgh or not? Because obviously, just because of salary cap and, you know, where he's at age-wise, production-wise, those are the conversations that happen. He understands that. He's not new to that. So that's going to naturally play its course. But I do think it's going to be one of them conversations where, yeah, they either going to approach him with that in mind, and depending on how he responds could be the difference of, you know, just how longer he's here in Pittsburgh versus having to go play somewhere else. We've talked about other guys that have played elsewhere, and I've already said, if Cam is open to playing for other teams, man, he could very well go play another 3 years in this thing, man. But in terms of him trying to get compensated the way he's getting compensated right now, staying here going forward, I think that could become a little bit of a conversation, man.
It just doesn't make sense to be.
He's older. He's coming off of an injury. He had the surgery this year,
his
too.
cap hit's going to be like 20 plus million. It just
it's
doesn't make
extremely
sense.
high.
I think that's going to be the second or
Second
third highest
highest.
cap hit.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And then when you also look at Larry Ogunjobi's contract and also his production, now you start looking at both of these players and their
Both of them,
contracts, and
yeah.
you're just like, man, do we need to revamp? We're looking at Keanu Benton. Young player came in and really balled out to the point where he was getting snaps off of Cam in the wild card game. So you already could see certain things starting to pop up, but it's just like, yeah, I think he's gonna have to come down off of that stance in order for this to keep going in terms of Steelers and Cam, just because of all the things we kind of just discussed right there. But you know, I would all for my dog just get as much money as he can get. But I don't think that works out the best here.
So Larry, if we cut him right now, it'd be $7 million in dead cap,
Yeah.
but it'd be a $6 million cap savings.
Yeah.
Interesting. He's a
Think-
$13 million cap hit
And what's Cam
right now.
Do we get his official? Because Larry, you got a couple of things. You could either talk extend, you can talk restructure. You got some playroom with it. Depending on also, if you do the restructure, then you're probably thinking of, man, one more
Cam's
year and that's it.
$22.4 million cap hit.
How many?
Only $6 million on the dead cap. So that'd be
Yeah, bro. you
$16 million in
16,
savings.
bro. Saving the 16 and based on the availability and the
Unrestricted
production,
free agent next year.
age. Yeah, that kind of goes. And that's the part where I'm like, I get
It's
his
just
stance.
a bold call to make.
Yeah, I get his stance because as players, man, that's one of the things that we get preached early on, knowing your worth, standing on it, because obviously we know fans are the first ones to tell us when we're underperforming and we need to give up money, or if we're balling out and it's like, yeah, we want to get more money. They're like, nah, man, you signed your contract. You got to stay loyal to it. So that's a big part of it. We get that preached into our head, man. If you sign that contract, bro, that's your contract. Don't give nothing back, period. But at the same time, I think in this situation, when you're talking about a marriage that's been going on for 10 plus years with Steelers and Cam, and I don't think Cam wants to go play elsewhere, but
Right.
I don't know if his mindset is, I will go play somewhere else. Kind of like when we talked 7, right? It was like 7 could still go play, but clearly 7 is like, yo, I'm good just being here. depending on Cam's mindset, because Cam is one of them lifers, right? This is all he's known. So he could take the same approach of, we'll bump it. Then I'd rather retire, and that's that. Or I'll take the pay cut. That's that.
Pay cut, restructure, whatever.
You know what I mean? Just something along those lines.
Because
you got to drop.
22 million's insane.
You can't have $16 million worth of available moves with you, and you're the big difference of that 16 being production tonight, bro. Let's be real. 16,
dude, we could sign Patrick Queen.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. $16 million, you go get a lot of stuff with that, bro. And it's younger, more productive at this stage.
Cut him and Ogunjobi. You
come on,
guaranteed bro. Patrick Queen.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like we don't want it to get to that. And like I said, I even hate that we even having this combo because this is my dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want him back.
This is my dude.
I thought that was
bro.
just going to be a given going into this offseason.
I did too. It's just when he said it. It's because he said it. That's what changed the narrative. Him simply saying, I'm not changing it.
They're going to figure something out with his contract, bump it down a little bit, get the cap hit so it makes sense. But, to him being that defiant with that comment.
And Chris B, I get what you're saying in the sense that, he feel like he has to say that. So he's not announcing he'll take a pay cut. But there's a different way to go about communicating that. You can communicate, I know my worth, and I'm going to make sure that I'm fairly compensated is very different than I'm not willing to take a pay cut. Not willing to take a pay cut sounds more like an ultimatum. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're not going to take a pay cut. Okay, well, which would I rather do? Pay you, the $22 million cap hit, and now I got $16 million that I could have went and got another viable option or something that is younger and even potentially more productive than you right now. When you make that statement, you kind of don't leave yourself any of that negotiation. You don't give yourself that wiggle room. So that's why we're saying, man, we can only take him for his word. So I'm not about to say, he's just saying it just to say it, because I do think there's some validity to this statement. But I do feel like, man, that's one of the ones where it's like when you start putting that publicly out there, it's just a strong way to start a negotiation off. That doesn't sound like, we about to be friendly with this talk. That doesn't sound like we about to really come to some type of agreement. It's like you already got your feet dug in the sand over here before we even start talking. Before I can even say, hey, man, what if I extend you, bro? So now instead of being a $16 million cap hit, maybe I can get this thing down to like 7, 8. All right. Even though we know in a year or two, man, we're going to have to have you bounce. All right. We're already on the same page. But at least let's talk this right now.
We'll take the dead cap hit done.
But when you make that statement, you kind of is like, I'm not even interested in anything where my number is not this number. If I'm not getting paid this, I don't even want to talk about it. It's like, bro, you can't go that far with it, man. That's all. So, Chris, you're not wrong, but the way that you communicated in these negotiations, just from experience, does matter. And it goes from both sides, whether it's you, your player, the player with the agent communicating to the team, or even the team communicating back. That dynamic, that dialogue, man, you just don't want to be so rigid and, just my side. It's like, bro, it's going to be a middle ground that they both going to meet into, man.
Yeah, because it's not all your decision on whether or not you get a pay cut or just how your contract gets worked out here. Because if you want to take that hard of a stance, the Steelers can take a really hard stance and say, we're just going to cut you.
And theirs is way more justified also based on everything that's took place. Now, I get it for Cam. He's going to say, man, I came back from a surgery early. I came back and busted my tail for you guys. I might even jeopardize long-term some stuff just because of how fast I came back. But either way, that's a part of the agreement sometimes, man. And you can't do that and then turn around and be like, well, hey, since I did that, you can make it on the back end. It's like, it ain't how it always works, But this is also where you get the negotiations of how it can get sour at times when you start saying, man, I didn't sacrifice my body, my time, I'm doing all this other stuff. And now you hollering about a $16 million that you could save by just moving on from me after I didn't give you all that. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I get it.
But even if he didn't come back this year, I think we'd still be in the same spot.
I would agree with you as well.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but this is what happens, man. When you start signing them contracts later on, it's very tough to get to the back end when you start, getting to this age, man, because you got to deal with your health. You got to deal with your production. You got to deal with the other talent around you. You got to deal with where your team is at, man. It's a lot that goes into this thing. And then you fighting the demons of yourself. Man, every time Cam comes out there, he is fighting against the all-pro version of himself that we all remember of him. So if he looks anything less than all-pro, we deem that bad version. We deem that less than losing a step. But it's like all-pro is great. That means you're one of the top 2 players at your position in the league. But now that he's come off of that where there's entry age combination, when you start factoring all that in and we're looking, now is where it gets, I call it weird.